the bell. Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
About 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day, Katie Greifeld and Scarlet Fu counting it down to the closing bell. Here to help take us beyond the bell with a global simulcast, we're joined now by Massar and Tim Stenovec, and we're bringing together all of our Bloomberg audiences, Carol, to recap what's been actually an update. It feels like it's been a while since we saw one of those.
Yeah, exactly. What is this? Wait a minute, I'm confused. Yeah, right. There's been certainly a downward trend when it comes to stocks. I'm still thinking, though, about some of the moves or the continued moves on the Treasury side of things. And if you're worried a little bit about outlook, we had an interesting conversation with Megan Horniman over at Verdant's Capital, right? And I'm just kind of blown away by what she said about some of her conservative investors, how much they're still keeping in cash.
What did she say, 10%?
Yeah, for their more conservative accounts, they're keeping about 10% in cash right now, or cash-like.
Okay, that's not all she said, Katie, and I'm apologizing to you ahead of time for this, okay?
Please.
She said, don't read too much into today.
Too late.
The rally.
Yeah.
It's a dead cat bounce.
No.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Katie.
I do hate that.
You don't
Why
like
do you
it.
hate
offends you,
it?
that
Why do
Because
you
Katie loves cats.
Oh.
Did she mention beating a dead horse, or did you not get there?
We didn't get there.
No.
That would have been, a doubleheader for you.
You know what? Let's just go with something more neutral, right? It's a rebound from
Thank you,
Friday.
Scarlett.
There we
the last
go.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's better language. Thank you.
But no rebound in treasuries, as you mentioned. Yields continue to move higher. You wonder whether the Fed coming out with anything on Friday, Jay Powell specifically, will change the trajectory of this move.
And as I phrased it earlier, what bird will fly when he opens his mouth at 10 a.m. on Friday? I'll be on vacation, but I'm going to tune in, I promise. But let's
Will you really tune in?
Probably not. I don't know. I have to look
Okay.
at the time zones. But let's take a look at how this market closed. Again, it was an update. You're looking at the S&P 500. Looks like it's going to settle about 0.7% higher. The NASDAQ doing one better, up about 1.6%. We know this was a huge day for tech stocks, and I guess it's spiritual opposite there. The Dow Jones not exactly getting a triple crown there, down by about 0.1%. That's an okay day, I would say.
It's been outperforming, though, right? Before, I feel like there's a lot of days where everything else is down, but the Dow components are up. Hey, to the broader market, the S&P 500, if you take a look, and I know Scarlett's going to dig into the major industry groups, but it's almost an even split in terms of names to the upside, names to the downside. So, a little bit of everything here today, Scarlett.
Yeah, but then you look at the industry groups, and here's where it gets interesting. Look at the gainers and how much they're rising by, and then look at the decliners and the declines that we see there. Autos and components, that's Tesla. Semi and semiconductor equipment companies, that's Nvidia and Broadcom. Software and services, that's Palo Alto Networks. We're talking gains of at least 1.8%. In the case of autos, 6.2%. On the downside, home builders, which is housed in consumer durables and apparel, off by 1.4%. Household and personal products, down less than 1%.
All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers. And guys, can I just say, what a wacky day, because for most of the day, and I think we might be ending this way, is that the top 4 gainers in the S&P 500 were exactly the same top 4 gainers in the NASDAQ 100. So I'm just going to kind of play them out for you. First up, Palo Alto Networks, oddly remember reporting after the close on Friday, surging the most in about 2 years, up almost 15% in today's session. This after projecting stronger billings for the year than Wall Street anticipated. So it eased some fears of a slowdown in demand that everybody was anticipating. Palo Alto's outlook also a potential bright spot for the cybersecurity sector. So really a standout there. Moderna also top in both of those major averages, up on heavy volume. News that teamed up with the Chinese biotech company CarsGen Therapeutics. This is about developing a cancer vaccine. So pretty interesting. Others also reminding that the fall COVID campaign may be kicking into high gear soon. So maybe that's a potential catalyst for Moderna. And then you've also got Tesla rallying after 6 consecutive days of declines. Baird Equity adding the stock to its best ideas list. So that name was up 7%. Moderna, by the way, was up more than 9%. One more, Nvidia. It's a big week for Nvidia, reporting its earnings on Wednesday. Heavy today, or higher today, I should say, on heavy volume. And you do have analysts continuing to raise their price targets on the stock. HSBC, KeyBank, Capital Markets, and BMO among the latest to boost their targets ahead of that second quarter results. So, the average price target for this stock has been moving steadily higher recently, above 520 now, up from 505 just 1 week ago. The stock closing at 469 and change. up, Tim, another 8.5%.
I guess it makes sense also given what Nvidia said last time at its earnings report and how much people were caught by surprise, right?
So they're hoping, right? Do they continue to say, hey, the growth, it's working, it's coming, it's even better than everybody anticipated? Exactly.
Expectations are certainly high, though. You got the green, I got the red, Carol. Let's take a look at the decliners today. Insulet Corp. This is a medical device firm. They make and sell a continuous insulin delivery system for people with insulin-dependent diabetes. They hit a 52-week low today, falling by more than 4% today. Analysts cutting their price target on the company as they get concerned that the medical tech sector will be affected by the rising use of GLP-1 medications to treat obesity. Those are medications like Wegovy and the like. Nike shares falling by 1.9% today, down for an 8th day in a row. This is the longest losing streak in more than 24 years. You have to go all the way back to December 4th, 1998. To find a time where Nike had fallen this many days in a row. The concerns are, of course, have to do with the consumer in China and then the consumer here in the U.S., based on the commentary that we heard from the big companies last week, Walmart and Target, about the way the consumer is being squeezed. And then AMC Entertainment down 23.7% today. The proposed stock conversion looks like it's actually on for now. A Delaware Supreme Court rejecting a request to halt the company's proposed stock conversion. That is expected to take effect on August 25th.
All right, let's get to the good stuff and go to the bond market because we continue to see
Wait,
that.
are you saying the equity
Rude.
isn't that good stuff?
I knew I was going to get called out on that, but I've been sitting here waiting to go. I need to tell you about yields because they're continuing to rise right now. Again, really at the long end. Take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield, up almost 9 basis points on the day, 4.34%, and you're at similar magnitudes if you go across the curve. 10, 15 years superlative, hard to keep track of. Interestingly, though, it's been the long end that's been selling off more than the front end. The 2-year Treasury yield, of course, it's right near 5%. But you add that together, and you have seen the yield curve steepen. The 2s10s curve currently at negative 66 basis points. That is a bear steepening, Scarlett.
So is this what a soft landing looks like?
I don't know. That's what I want to know. What is getting priced in right now?
That should be the title of Jackson Hole, the meeting, rather than this big, great structural change.
What is this distinction that we're having between the bond market and the equity market right now? Like, what does the bond market know that the equity investors don't know?
So I'm glad you brought it up. I wrote a great column on this last week. The answer that I got speaking to people on the close is that, okay, maybe you're starting to see a soft landing priced into the bond market, but the equity market was already priced for perfection. Of course, if you think about the economic outlook that some of the stock bulls had, if you think about the earnings picture that some of those stock bulls had been hoping for, but then you sprinkle on top of that it is August.
It is such a weird, actually, let's go to Zoom.
Just came out.
Should we go to Zoom?
Yeah, let's do that because, I mean, we're at the tail end of earnings season, but this is a stock that did not participate in the tech rally this year. Zoom Video reporting second quarter adjusted EPS of $1.34, beating the consensus estimate of $1.05. Revenue coming in at slightly better than expected, $1.14 billion. Analysts were looking for $1.11 billion. In terms of the outlook, third quarter revenue anywhere from $1.12 billion to, actually, there's a typo here, but let's give you a range, and I'm not sure what the range is because this number does not look correct. So let's go with full year revenue, $4.49 billion to $4.5 billion. That's a very narrow range, when previously it had anticipated $4.47 billion to $4.49 billion. Carol, what does this look like in terms of the after-hours trade? It is a gain here, right?
Yeah, up more than 7% here. Keep in mind, this stock is off, or at least leading into it was off about 1% year to date, and about 7% of the flow shorted. It is still down about 90% from its all-time high back in mid-October of 2020. What we're looking, though, Katie, is for some color about, all those pandemic contracts, whether or not they have come to an end and are customers, corporate customers in particular, right? Are they signing up to continue the Zoom service, or they're saying, I don't need it. Everybody's back to the office, or increasingly more people are.
That's the big fascinating question about Zoom's future here, of course, and it sort of is a moment, if you will, for the economy as we start to see a lot of businesses broadly in this economy transition back into the office. And how does Zoom keep the momentum going? It has some long-term initiatives such as Zoom Phone, which we learned about earlier, me and Scarlett. And it seems like, I don't know, right now at least, parsing through this statement that shareholders seem a little bit optimistic.
I think there's also the question around how does it differentiate itself from other competitors out there, like Google Meet, like other audio platforms like Cisco WebEx. I will say the company shouting out to AI in its first sentence of its press release, saying that our mission of delivering a limitless human connection remains core as we continue to innovate and expand our platform to help bring value and enhance productivity to our customers with new AI features like Zoom IQ Meeting Summary and Team Chat Compose.
The one thing I will say, they do say number of customers contributing more than $100,000 in trailing 12 months revenue, up almost 18% year over year. So maybe that speaks to some of those larger customers. Zoom phone?
What is
it
what is
could
Zoom
be the
phone?
next thing. It's where you talk by phone through Zoom rather than using
AI
your...
is the next big thing.
Well, there needs to be something to bridge us until we get to AI, right? It's not instantaneous.
All right, well, needless to say, the stock is moving in the aftermarket. All right, guys, almost done with Monday. That's a wrap. Our cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. Of course, TV continuing, radio is as well. But we will see you all, the group, tomorrow again.